It feels a lot smaller than I thought it would. It looks great though. Great, like first impression. I'll put it through those paces a little bit with you guys. Get more first impressions, tones. Initially it feels really good. Like the neck, one of the reasons I got this is because I love my Charvel DK22 so much, and the neck really feels almost like that. It's a little bit, maybe, yeah, it's a little bit thicker, but like the same basic feel as far as the sound. Finish on it. That's cool, man. We'll see how it does. Gig bag's pretty awesome. Like that's cool, just being able to show up to a gig with maybe a Tonex pedal and just this. That's gonna be awesome. Okay, just gonna do a quick initial reaction before we get into some tones and. Okay, like initially, the fretwork is great. There's no fret sprout or anything. Like I can run my fingernails along the edge of the fretboard. It doesn't catch it all. That's great. The nut feels a little high. Higher strings feel like really close to where I normally would have them, but the lower strings feel like they need to be lowered a bit. That's pretty normal though for anything from a factory. They generally set things up higher so there's wiggle room in case somebody doesn't want it lower, right? So overall feels good though. I mean, there's nothing glaring. It's going to need to come down for me. Very minimal relief. It's almost dead flat. It just feels a little hard to fret in the first position, right? But it's still very, like when the tolerances of being, it's gonna measure the action. 2 millimeters on the bass side and just below 2 millimeters on the treble side. So I'll probably bring that down a little bit too. I know this comes set up with 10s. I usually have 1.5 on the bass side and 1.25 on the treble side. So I'll get 9.5s on, and then I'll come back with it all set up and we'll go over some tones. And this video I'm gonna do over a couple of weeks just so I can get some real honest and valid initial impressions. The finish on the back of the neck feels similar to it as well. It's a little bit thicker than that, but I would expect that. It's a pretty thin neck on that DK22. Okay, one more playing example for you. Since I do all the content on the guitarfam.com channel for YouTube, I have to have a really versatile guitar. A lot of our clientele likes blues and classic rock, but I also like progressive rock and progressive metal, stuff like that. So I wanted to see if this could keep up with a 339 for a blues solo. Here you go. All right, now to the main point of the video. Does a headless guitar, one that you can set on your lap like this and have the angle of the guitar be a little in a more optimal or ergonomic position, will it help you with injuries? And for me, my injury was I have a winged scapula and a forward rotated shoulder, and that's causing my chest to be real tight and my back to be stressed out and stretched out, and it's just cranking on my neck and all these things. So I've been doing a lot of physical therapy, doing my exercises, and at this point, like every percentage point I can take throughout the day to make things a little bit better, take some of the strain off of that, is really good. So when I go from playing like this on a normal electric, my shoulder is forward, and I get into the habit, since I have to have my guitar parallel to the ground for filming a lot of the time, so I got into the habit of leaning my left elbow onto my leg. And that has caused things to wear out over the years, and I got to get back to where they should be. But doing like this, going from this to this, puts my shoulder back in a position where it's much, much better. I can like feel it sucking back into where it should be right now. And if it's only 2-3% throughout the day, if it gives me that edge, then I think it's worth it, and I think it does do a really good job. Number one, for that reason, it puts in this position. Like I have a really extreme footstool or strap on all the time, but it's even better than that. And you could be saying, think to yourself, well, why don't you just use a footstool or strap or use classical method? I do those things, but I can't stand using the classical method. I never have been able to. And the footstool, the strap aren't extreme enough to get into that position. And it wears me out after a while too. It gets a little kind of exhausting, but this is really cool. And I will say this, don't make the mistake of thinking you don't need this to use a strap. When you do this, it will sit on your leg, but when you're move around the fretboard, bending, soloing, doing vibrato, I found that I did need a strap to kind of stabilize it, especially when I was doing that blues solo with all the bending and vibrato. I went and got a strap real quick because I was like, oh, this is all over the place. So it doesn't eliminate the need for a strap, it just really accentuates this angle and helps me, I guess, with my physical. It's like a physical therapy guitar, I guess you'd say. Now, I know that most of the people that use the Guitar Fam site and watch the Guitar Fam channel are probably into more traditional looking guitars. And for me, I like the way this looks because it looks modern. I like progressive metal and progressive rock, but you may not. But I think it's a small price to pay for a guitar, especially at this price point, that kind of saves your shoulder and your back to a degree. All right, let's move on to just talking about the pickups real quick. The pickups to me are hotter and a little bit more one-track minded. Like if you did nothing but progressive rock and metal, I would say leave these in. They sound good and I like them. Also, the coil tap on these is really good. And I looked in the back because I usually put a resistor on my push-pull pots to make them sound less thin, a little bit fuller when you tap them. And they already had a high value resistor in there. So I was like, oh, no wonder the coil taps already sound so good. Now, I guess what they kind of do remind me, they're in the same vein, is like a JB and something that's hotter in the neck too. I wouldn't say a Jazz 59, but something a little bit hotter as far as a neck pickup. Now, like I mentioned, I do need this guitar to be as versatile as possible, so I already have ordered some Fishman Influence classic pickups. I'll be doing another video on those soon, just to see. I've never used them before. I'll see how much versatility I can get out of this guitar. It's going to be important when I'm flying around from classic rock to metal or whatever. Okay, let's move on to some pros and cons. To the pros first. I've had this guitar for over a month now, and I have to say it feels a lot better, and I like it a lot more than I anticipated, especially for being at the, $629 US price point. I'd say it feels like it's over $1,000 guitar. One of the things I like a lot about it are the stainless steel frets. The first one I've ever owned, first guitar I've ever owned was stainless steel frets. And initially I didn't think much of it, but then I compared it to my other guitars with nickel frets. And I was like, oh wow, it is a lot slicker, a lot nicer feeling. Now, of course, the other thing we kind of already talked about this is just sitting in a correct posture. I've been finding myself picking this guitar up a lot more, and it doesn't hurt as much after I finish playing it. The other thing I'll show you that I really love about this guitar Not everyone knows this, but I have a new baby girl coming in a week and a half. This guitar is very light. It's like between probably 4 and 5 pounds. And this is really cool. You can do this with this guitar. I'm all tied up here, watch. I could just chuck it on the couch and I don't have to worry as much about little ones pulling on it. I have a 3-year-old too. And if she pulled this down on her, it wouldn't hurt her. It's super light, whether it's a big headstock and like a 7 or 8 pound guitar, it might hurt them. But I can also throw it, you know, on the bookshelf if I need to get rid of it real quick. It still hangs on a wall hanger, which is really nice. Super convenient, but it's light and easy to just pick up and move around in the bag for it. You saw the bag in the unboxing part of it. It's really nice. It also doubles as like a travel guitar, which I wasn't expecting, but I've always wanted a travel guitar, so that's a nice bonus. Now, I will say that I did set this guitar up to the specs for Music Nomad's videos. I really like the way it feels on all of those things. So the nut came down nicely. I filed the nuts down to their specs and it came off feeling really nice, so a real easy fix there. It was in spec. It wasn't bad or out. It's just my personal preference, so I thought the nut was cut really good from the factory, so that's cool. The hardware on this is pretty good. It was like $600 guitar. It's probably going to be medium, but it feels really good. The tuners feel like normal tuners. You know, you have to kind of tune up to pitch. That's what the same thing it feels like with these, and it feels like really high quality tuners. They're going to last for a good while. The bridge feels good. It's a collet whammy bar. You know, the kind of where the mechanism is on the outside, so you have that little tiny bit of a wobble on that. But that's every whammy bar that has that style. If you really crank on it, I don't know if you can hear that, but if I'm just doing like this, there's no blip in the tremolo at all, or the vibrato arm at all. Okay, now on to some of the cons for this one. The back plate, I have this off just because I take that off of all my guitars so I can adjust them if I need to down tune them. But the back plate here was on so tight that I could not get it out. And I had to stick it in the screwdriver in the screw hole and pry it out. And when it did that, it chipped out part of the finish. So that was a little bit annoying. The tolerance was a little bit tight there. So, I mean, I've never had that happen on a guitar before. It's always been loose enough to just come out. So that was a little bit weird. Now, one thing, this is going to sound bad, but it's really not that bad. It's pretty common. It has it has 3 high frets that I noticed. And I actually contacted Hils about this, and they said, well, you could have just sent it back to us and we would have fixed it for you, right? Because they check everything before to their specs. And I did lower the nut a little bit, and I did lower the action a little bit, and that's probably why. But that doesn't change the facts that 3 of the frets were high. And unless a guitar is plecked, I expect a guitar under $1,000 to have a little bit of a high fret here or there. And I don't know if you can hear it. I'll just bump it up on the 4th fret so you can hear it. So there's 3 like that. It's not enough to really affect the playing too much, but it is something that once my life calms down and gets out of the newborn stage, I'll probably take those 3 little frets down just a little bit to make it play as good as possible and no buzzing. Okay, one of the things that you might see as a con, but I really don't, is the string change is a bit fiddly. It's a bit cumbersome to change the strings, but if you're changing strings on any guitar with any kind of locking system like Floyd Rose is worse. It's more fiddly and a bigger pain in the butt. It's kind of like changing strings on a Bigsby as far as this end, and then locking down here. It's not like it's a little bit like a Floyd, but it's a little bit different. But as far as I can tell, the learning curve takes off pretty quick. Once you change strings 1 or 2 times, then it becomes a lot easier. And it's just a price you have to pay for doing guitars with like a locking system on this end, like a Floyd Rose that locks down here, something like that. But this end, surprisingly, was pretty easy to get on and take care of. Another thing about this end, and you may not look at this as a con or whatever, but when you have to push on the tuners or grab the tuners to tune them, inevitably when you put any pressure on the bridge like that with your fingers, it's gonna throw it out of tune. So you have to kind of guess how far you need to back it off or put it up to tune the guitar. I'm getting used to it, but it was a little bit of a learning curve on being able to tune it like that. So overall, is this guitar worth the money? And is it help me with my ergonomic issues to get past this injury? I would say yes and yes. I think it's worth more than I paid for it. There are a few issues with it, but they are not deal breakers. They're really cool. I bought guitars more expensive than this with more issues than this, right? I would say if you're into more aggressive types of music, you would need to change the pickups. If you want a little more versatility out of it, you might want to change the pickups. All right, that's it for this video. Like I mentioned, I will be doing a video where I compare the stock pickups in here to the Fishman Open Core Classic. So be looking around for that one. That one may take a while to get out until the new baby gets here and kind of stabilizes. Other than that, let me know in the comments, do you use headless guitars? Why do you use them? Do you just like them? Are they great, you know, for traveling, lightweight, to keep yourself from having injuries from me like this? You know, I might have gotten a Strandberg, I tell you, but I didn't want to spend $2,000 right now, or however much. Even the more expensive, the less expensive ones are even more expensive than this. And I'm pretty happy with this guitar, especially since I'm not going to have a lot of room around the house with 2 little ones running around right now. This is going to be a great option for me, for injuries, and just being a dad of young kids. It's going to be a great option. See you.